Hello students, welcome to Meso Study again. So we were discussing about CBSE pattern question exercises for the chapter number 1, that is our living world, right? And we have already discussed about the 5 questions. The 5 questions which we have discussed, that was a first 1 mark question. Second was also a 1 mark question that we have discussed, which is related to chemotaxonomy. Genus we have already completed. Now elaborate about the keys. We know about the keys, we have already studied in the previous session, and classical taxonomy and the modern taxonomy also we have studied. Now let's move on to 6th question. So that is also because we are talking about a 2 marks question, the 6th question is also a 2 mark question. Now, what do you mean by living? Give any 4 defining feature of a living form. Any person, any individual, when we talk about the living forms which are there, basically they show different features. First basic feature is that they should show metabolism. They should assimilate energy as well as they should release energy. Assimilation should be there, formation should be there, and there should be a release of energy. That is the most important part of it. Along with this, the metabolism, we know it is made up of the 2 type of reaction. One is catabolism, another is anabolism. Second is called as, in this case, that they should show reproduction as well. Also, the third property which is shown by a living organism is that they should show a consciousness. Now question arises, what is a consciousness? Consciousness means to respond to external stimuli. Not only animals, not only we human beings, but also plants also respond to the external stimuli. You must have heard of photoperiodism, that is a flowering due to the presence of light. You must have heard of phototropism, that means a movement of the plant towards the light. Movement of roots towards the earth, geotropism, that also we have studied. These are just the features of a living organism. So, we know about the living organism. What are living organisms? We can explain that very easily when we have to give the any 4 defining features. The first defining feature is called as a metabolism. Metabolism. Question arises, what is metabolism? Metabolism means secretion and release of energy. Release of energy. And we know this secretion and this release of energy is very important. First of all, energy is synthesized and later on that energy is released. Because energy is important for undergoing the various reactions in our body, for the various work in our body. So, energy is important for various life processes. The first life process that we know, that is a locomotion. Locomotion. Second is the digestion. For also digestion we need energy. For the process of respiration we need energy. For the process of reproduction also we need energy. We need energy, right? So this is one of the feature of organism. Another feature is called as a consciousness. Consciousness. Question arises, what is a consciousness? Consciousness to get awake. Consciousness to respond to external stimuli. So that means respond to external stimuli. Right? Do I need to discuss about the animal, that how do they respond to external stimuli? I don't think so. I need to explain about that. We have different receptors. I'm just explaining you that we have different receptors present in our body. Eye is also that thing which help in responding towards different stimulus. We have a nose present by which the olfactory glands which we have, by which we can smell things. We have a gustatory receptor present on mouth by which we can taste different food. We have these ears present in them which are having auditory receptor due to which we can listen to the various signals that is being passed. In case of human beings, these are present. In case of animals, you can say auditory receptor is there, gustatory is there, olfactory is there, and very important, we have is an eye present. And we all have a well developed nervous system. Due to which we can respond to external stimuli. Even in case of plant also respond to external stimuli. Plants, for example, in case of plants, have you ever heard of thigmotropism? Thigmotropism. Thigmo means certain plants are like this. If we touch the leaves of those plants, they become folded. That is called as a thigmotropism. Another is that I am mentioning only few just for a reference, that is a photoperiodism. Photoperiodism. Photoperiodism means respond to external stimuli in the terms of flowering. Depending upon the day length, depending upon the night length, flowering happens in case of plants. So this is also one of the defining feature, that we have discussed. The third defining feature that we all know is called as a cellular organization. Cellular organization. Cellular organization. Cellular organization, starting from those bacteria as well, starting from those plants as well, even we have a certain multicellular, even in plants a multicellularity is there. Even in plants the organs are there, the tissue system is well developed. So these cellular organization, this is also a basic unit which act as a defining feature of a living organism. In the cellular organization, first of all, the basic unit is considered as a cell. All the cells, they combine together and they form a tissue. Tissue combined together, they form an organ. Organ combined together and they form a system. In case of plants, the organ and the tissue system level of organization is there, where in case of our organ and organ system level of organization is present in case of animals, right? So these are the certain features which actually define that we are living organism, right? So students, first of all note down this, then we will proceed further. So students, hope you have noted down about these defining features, right? Now let's move on to the next question. Question number 7. This question number 7 is of 3 marks. So we have to explain the things accordingly. So this indicates what are taxonomical aids, give importance of herbaria, museum, and what are botanical gardens, zoological park, and how they are useful in conserving biodiversity, right? Question here indicates taxonomical aids. What are these taxonomical aids? Taxonomical aids, these are those aids in which they help in the classification process, if I say. They help in identifying a species. Basically, these taxonomical aids, they help in classification. Basically, they help in identification. They help in nomenclature and classification of a species. With the help of certain reference organism. With the help of reference organisms. Now, in the last, I have written one word which is a reference organism. Now, these reference organisms are obtained from, the information can be obtained from botanical gardens, they will be obtained from zoological park, they can be obtained from these herbaria, these museum. Right? Now, question indicates that we have to explain about the different taxonomical aids. 8 taxonomical aids we have already discussed, so I will be discussing about only those which is mentioned in the question. First of all, let's focus on this herbaria. What is a herbaria? So, herbaria is that which is having a collection of different plant. In this, what we do, we collect plant, then we dry them. After that, we press them. The drying and the pressing are done simultaneously, and after that, they are placed on herbarium sheet. Herbarium sheets. More than just like that of a A4 sheet, a white sheet is there, that is called as a herbarium sheet. And on that herbarium sheet, those plants, a reference plant is stick over there. As they are placed on these herbarium sheet, not only these plants are present over there, along with the information regarding the date of collection, the place of collection, the classification up to order, up to family is done. So, in this case, herbarium sheet has certain information as well. Regarding species, regarding plant, which is there. Above side, we can see the information is there. And what kind of information? Date of collection, they have is a place of collection, the classification, and very important, name of collector. So, what is a herbarium? In herbaria, the sheets are there, the herbarium sheets are there, in which the plants are placed, these are dried, along with they are pressed, and they are placed on these herbarium sheets. And they have a certain information like date of collection, place of collection, classification, and the name of collector as well. Now come to this side. Second, they have written regarding the museum. So, what is a museum? Museum. You must have seen the museum in your schools also, they are there in colleges also, and each and every cities museums are there. Because we are talking about biology, so I am talking about only biological museums. I am not talking about any historical museums. So, in case of the museum, animals and plants are preserved. And plants are preserved. And these animals which are preserved, they are placed in certain preservatives. Normally formalin is used, formalin as preservative. Basically what we want is to store there the soft tissues as well. Normally nothing happened to the hard tissue because we are keeping them for a reference, so we have to preserve their soft tissues as well. So, soft tissues, they are preserved with the help of a formalin, and you know certain mammals and birds, they are also preserved in these. Mammals, birds are also preserved. Now, mammals are very big and birds are very big, we cannot keep them in formalin, we cannot keep them in jar. So what we do, we after killing those mammals, they are stuffed. So these are stuffed, right? So that only morphological features can be studied. We cannot study the anatomical feature because of this, only the morphological they can be studied. So mammals and the birds, they are also there, and the museum, they also have a skeleton. You have seen skeleton also in your museum, you must have seen there. So skeleton is also there, that is just for a reference study. So how are botanical gardens in the zoological park are useful in conserving biodiversity? Now, what are these botanical gardens? Let's discuss that. Botanical gardens. In case of botanical gardens, the plants are kept. Live plants, not dead. In case of herbarium, dried plants are kept, but in botanical garden, only live plants are kept. And these plants which are kept, they are useful for the study, or you can say they are useful as a reference for nomenclature. They are useful to carry out certain experiments, for the experimental study also, and for very important for aesthetic, because plants gives us pleasure, that's why for the aesthetics also they are kept over there. Now, it is written over here why they are useful in conserving biodiversity, because in botanical garden, whatever plants which are kept, they are kept in a live condition. They are given the proper environment which they require. That's why it is one of that factor which help in conserving the biodiversity. Next we have is a zoological park. Zoological park. Now the name itself indicate the zoological park, that means they will be having animals. So animals are kept under natural environment. Kept under natural environment which they require for sustenance. Right? So any kind of endangered species, any vulnerable species can also be kept in natural environment so that they can be preserved, so that they can be maintained in an ecosystem. So this was a question number 7. Hope you know now how to attempt such type of question. Explain stepwise, slow, and this is how you can attempt. Right? Now, let's talk about the next question. The next question indicate it is related to metabolism. So just read this question. By the time, let me prepare board for you. So, metabolism is defining feature of all living organism without exception. Isolated metabolic reaction in vitro are not living things, but surely living reaction. Now tell me one thing, what do you mean by this metabolism? Metabolism, I think we have studied in the last few questions. What is metabolism? Metabolism. In the metabolism, I will not explain in detail of this metabolism. The two type of reactions are there. First reaction is called as a catabolic reaction. And second reaction is called as a anabolic reaction. Basically, it is related to energy. Energy is important for the sustenance, for the various life processes that we have already studied. In this case, now, if you are attempting such question, first of all, you have to explain about this metabolism. You have to explain about the definition which we have already completed in some of questions back when I was discussing about the features of living organism. Along with this, the catabolism is there, the anabolism, this is L. Anabolism you have to explain. So catabolism, we have already discussed in the session. In this case, the larger molecules are there that are being broken into the smaller one. Whereas in anabolic, what happens, a smaller plus smaller is there which combine together and they form a larger one. Whenever this catabolic reaction occur, in this case the energy is released. If energy is released, such type of reaction are called as exergonic reaction. Exergonic reaction. That means it releases energy. We have already studied in chemistry. So, anabolic are those which are called as an endergonic reaction. So, endergonic means they require energy for the formation. So, metabolism means formation of energy and metabolism means energy is released. These are the two important life processes. If they stop happening in our body, we will be no more. So, metabolism. Metabolism, we have discussed that. Let's talk about the example of the catabolism. You all have heard of a normal process which happens every time, every day, every night, respiration. In the case of respiration, what happens is the larger molecules are converted into the smaller one and the energy is released. Whereas the endergonic, for example, there is a formation or the reaction which is called as a photosynthesis. Synthesis. Now, again, come back to the question. Isolated metabolic reaction in vitro are not living things but surely living reactions. They are not living things, but they are living reactions. I'll tell you a single line for that, because whenever these reactions happen, whenever certain reactions or metabolic reaction happen, the energy is released or sometimes energy is created, sometimes energy they utilize, sometimes they release. So the two type of reaction that we know, hope you have studied in thermodynamics, the two reactions are there, the exergonic and endergonic. So energy is involved somewhere or other. If that energy is involved, definitely those reactions, they are considered as a living reaction, but actually those reactions are not a living things, right? This is how you can write in this. Now, let's come back to the 9th question. It's a very big question. 5-mark question. ICBN. ICBN has provided a code for classification of plants. Give hierarchy units of classification botanists follow while classifying a plant. Now, ICBN, that is the International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. Here we have to give certain codes of classification. They gave a code for classification in which we have to classify the organism into different categories. Starting from a kingdom, then we have a phylum, then class, then order, then family and the genus. You have to explain about these in a single line. Now they have to give what are the different steps, the codes which normally the ICBN said. So ICBN, they said that each of the organism, they should be named in a two thing. One is called as a generic name. The first name is called as a generic name and second is called as a specific name. Generic and second is called as a specific name. Generic name should come first, whereas a specific name they should come later on. The first letter of the generic names, they should be in capital. So the first letter should be capital, letter capital. In this case, the first letter should be small. Letter should be small, right? If we are handwriting something, for example, Homo sapiens, they should be underlined separately. No continuous line should be there. Because students, this chapter is included in a first unit of your 11th class. So in whole 11th class as well as 12th class, there will be many scientific names. And whenever you are attempting a biology question paper answer sheet, when you are writing any answer for that, things should be there in your mind that whenever scientific name is there, you have to underline it. In biology, a teacher can miss any change in the spelling, any mistakes in the spelling, that can be ignored. But one thing which cannot be ignored is this is scientific name. Another thing is that there should be a continuous there should be underline between the underline should be there separate for the generic and the separate for the specific name, that should be there. Another feature is that sometimes we do include a scientist who discovered the name as well. For example, Linnaeus, first letter should be there, and all those things, if I'm naming someone, that all those things they should be in a Latin language. No any other language should be used, only Latin language should be used, right? So all of these things that you have to explain. What is a binomial system of nomenclature and who have proposed it? We have already discussed about the binomial. Who proposed this? That is Carolus Linnaeus. He was the one who proposed this. Right? Now, what are these? Why binomial is the most accepted mode of naming organism? This is because only we have to give two names, which we have already discussed. The first is a generic name and second is a specific name. And why we have to name an organism? Just because to stop a confusion. Basically, what happens whenever we have discussed in the vernacular names, when we give vernacular name, the problem which arises is we cannot easily adjust, or you cannot, if a scientific conference is happening, at that time you cannot, one is referring one particular journal, one particular paper, at that time we will not be able to correlate the thing. So there should be a unit should be there should be a one particular unity in the name, that one particular plant should be given a specific name, another animal should be given a specific name, right? This is how the things you have to write, and that we have already explained in the sessions. So hope you can attempt this question as well, question number 10, right? So this is a 5-mark question. Explain this, give the scientific name, give the scientist name also, Carolus Linnaeus, and you have to explain about the each and every character, each and every code which is given by the ICBN. What is ICZN? That all you have to explain. So hope all the 10 questions are clear to you. This is how you have to practice different questions. So we'll meet in the next session when we'll discuss about a new chapter. Till then, take care of yourself. Thank you so much, students, for watching this.